Check one, one, two. They were, okay. Except for Jack.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the very first meeting of First Public Hydrogen. This is an historic day. I'm glad to see you're all here. We got most of the players in the industry in this room. That's fabulous. We're looking forward to this. This is historic in many ways. We all know what happened in LA. We all know that they're going to have to rebuild Los Angeles. And it happened just as we opened with the hydrogen, because this is I mean, at least everybody in this room knows that this is where we're going to end up going with both transportation and for building. And how well we do our jobs in the next 2 years is going to determine what LA looks like and whether or not something like this happens again. Because if we build it the way we have always built, it will happen again. If we build with fuel cells and hydrogen, it's a whole different economy. I'm excited about it. I hope you are too. Jason, you want to?
Yes, Mayor. The first thing on the agenda is the appointment and the oath of office. So we have the Mayor of Industry and the Councilwoman from the City of Lancaster going to be ceremonially swearing you guys in. So if you could all stand by the flags, and Mayor Moss, Councilwoman Leslie Hughes, join in the swearing in. Before you guys get started, Allison's going to do this flag salute as well.
Everyone please stand, place your hand over your heart. If ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, Yes, can I call the roll? Member Vasquez.
Present.
Member Ruggles.
Here.
Chairman Paris. Chairman Paris? Here. Did you say here? Rex.
Thank you. Yes, I'm here. I took my hearing aids out because they were too loud.
Oh, okay. Member Peacock.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. You want to go through the consent calendar, or did you want to introduce people? What do you want to do?
Item 1, Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. Item 1 on the agenda is the appointment of officers. As part of your bylaws, which you'll be approving today, you're required to appoint officers. Those officers include the CEO, the general counsel, the secretary, and the treasurer. The list you have for approval today is the CEO as Jason Cottle, that's me. I hope you vote yes. We also have Allison Burns, who's our general counsel. We have Susan Caputo, who's with Bayshore Consulting, but also serving us as our board secretary today. And we have Barbara Boswell as the treasurer. Just quick introductions about who they are and their experience. I've had 30 years experience in local government and excited about this opportunity, as well as Allison Burns has been working as the city's attorney, the Lancaster city's attorney, as well as many other special districts and the like, so she'll have great experience for this organization. And Barbara Boswell represents Bayshore Consulting, who's working on a lot of our business transactions and the administrative functions about what we do. And Susan Caputo has a great experience as a city clerk with the city of Santa Clarita and other cities. So you have a great staff behind you. I'm going to take this opportunity to invite recognize our other staff. If Tamara can stand up, please. Malik, Paul, Ashley, Adrian, where am I missing? Alexis is behind us here. So that is your first public hydrogen. Was there somebody hidden back here? Who's that? Daniela, she's so short back there. That is your first public hydrogen staff, and we're excited about who they are and what they're doing here with us. They have all taken a risk out of their current careers to kind of join us and try to make this thing work. So we're excited about those opportunities. And with that, I'd recommend the approval of the officers, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason. Any speaker cards? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Allison, you're on.
I am on. I'm also short, so hang on. There we go. Yeah.
You can't reach the mic, and I can't hear.
Well, we're all together, we're doing great. So I'm here to present to you a brief rundown on your duties and responsibilities as newly sworn members of the Board of Directors of First Public Hydrogen Authority. And there will be a PowerPoint going behind you, which is far less than optimal, but we'll get through it. The topics we're going to cover today quickly, as we've got a large audience and we want to be respectful of everyone's time, is the obligations to obtain ethics training, obligations with regard to conflicts of interest, including financial conflicts of interest, incompatible activities in offices, common law conflicts, the requirements of the Brown Act, and the requirements of the Public Records Act. Starting with ethics training. Before you today for consideration are the bylaws for First Public Hydrogen Authority, which provide for board members to be compensated monthly for their service. Therefore, if adopted as presented, you will be required to obtain ethics training, 2 hours of training every 2 years, and complete your first training within 1 year of taking office, which was approximately 8 minutes ago. So that training is available through the Secretary of State's website. We'll provide you a link, and it is free. Okay, moving on to conflicts of interest. The duty of a public official is to provide their services in good faith, with diligence, integrity, and fidelity, with disinterested skill, zeal, and primarily for the benefit of the public and not themselves. With that in mind, we move on to the financial conflicts of interest under the Fair Political Practices Act. There is an 8-step test to tell if you might have a conflict of interest with regard to a matter that comes before this board. I am going to run through this quickly. The purpose of this presentation is not to make you an expert on conflicts of interest. It's to give you enough information so that you can recognize a potential conflict as it arises and call with any questions, concerns, or to talk through any issues. So the first question is the person in question a public official? You are. You just took the oath of office. You are a public official. The second question is, are you making a governmental decision? If it's coming before this board, you're making a governmental decision. The third question, do you have one of the 6 qualifying types of economic interest? I will run through them quickly so you have them to mind. Investments in business of $2,000 or more. Interests in real property of $2,000 or more. Sources of income of $500 or more. Sources of gifts and their agents or intermediaries, aggregating $250 or more in the 12 months preceding the decision. Positions with business organizations such as officer, director, employee, or business position, except for nonprofits, or personal finances of yourself and your family. If you have one of those qualifying economic interests, the next question we look to is the interest directly or indirectly involved in the decision? Direct involvement would be if you have a business interest of $2,000 or more, and that business is proposing some sort of action with regard to this agency. There are a myriad of reasons why that's not okay, but among them is it's directly involved. The second, an indirect involvement might be some decision this board were to make that would indirectly affect your business. Like, we're only going to buy hydrogen from companies that have blue in their logo, and your company only has orange in your logo. As an example that really wouldn't make any sense, but nonetheless, it's illustrative. The next question is whether the decision will have a material financial effect on the official's economic interest. The example I like to use for this is, say, for example, you hold stock in excess of $2,000 in the Coca-Cola Corporation. And this board is deciding whether we're going to provide transport services for vending machines for the Coca-Cola Corporation. The question will be, will that vending contract with the Coca-Cola Corporation have a material impact on Coca-Cola's value, interest, income? If it will not, then it is not a material financial effect on the economic interest. The next question is whether the effect on the interest is distinguishable from the effect on the public generally. This is commonly referred to as the public generally exception. It comes up a lot in cities, for example, when we're doing paving projects that cover an entire jurisdiction. If everyone's road is getting paved at the same time, then everyone is affected equally, and there's no distinction between the effect on your property interest, for example, and that of the rest of the public. Whereas if we're deciding on whether to build a hydrogen plant next door to real property you own that is zoned for hydrogen distribution, for example, that would be a different interest than the public generally. And then finally is what's referred to commonly as the rule of necessity. And that is the participation by the official nonetheless legally required. The business of First Public does not come to a halt because a majority of the board members have a conflict on an item. So for example, if three of you had a conflict on a particular item, we would take a methodology to select one of you to participate. Usually we draw straws, and the short straw gets to continue to participate on the item for so long as the item exists. So for example, if all of you had a conflict with regard to a particular item, we would draw straws. And if Director Peacock drew this short straw, you would participate regardless of your conflict. Although every time an action was taken on that item, you would announce your conflict and then staying and participating pursuant to the rule of necessity. The other board members with a conflict would announce their conflict and leave the dais. So when there is a conflict of interest, you would be obliged to state your conflict. So is it interest in real property, a business interest, economic, whatever it may be, and then remove yourself from making a decision or influencing it. Any questions? Okay, trying to make it quick. SB 1439, this is known as the Levine Act. It was enacted in 2022. It's new. The regulations are just recently finalized and being interpreted, so it's a little bit of a moving target. The short version is if you take political contributions, keep an eye on where they're coming from and make sure that any action you take here on behalf of First Public do not involve those parties interested in providing those campaign contributions to you. This probably really only affects our directors from the cities. I suspect the others of you don't have campaigns to be contributed through, but just in case you decide to run for public office, keep in mind that those donations in excess of $250 may preclude you from voting on items for First Public. I'm going to pass through this quickly. Contracts are among those items that require Levine Act disclosure and recusal. Okay. All right. And there's a whole lot to it, and I will send this PowerPoint to you. Okay. Common law conflicts. The common law provides for conflicts beyond those identified by the strict 8-part test in the Fair Political Practices Act. And public officers are impliedly bound to exercise their powers with disinterested skill and zeal for the benefit of the public. This is what I refer to as the looks like a duck, quacks like a duck conflict rule. And that is, if it looks like a conflict and it sounds like a conflict, when in doubt, step out. Let's not get ourselves into any problems. Let's make sure that we have the most transparent and clear compliance with conflict laws. All right, the next is economic disclosures, the Form 700. This is a form disclosing your economic interests. It's due within 30 days of assuming office. Now, 16 minutes ago. Due April 1 annually, and then 30 days after you leave office. So, and you no doubt will be reminded repeatedly of those obligations. Incompatible offices. A public official may not simultaneously engage in employment or activity or enterprise for compensation that is inconsistent or in conflict with their official duties. The most common one, the way I describe this one is you cannot simultaneously serve on this board and on a superior public board. So for example, the Board of Supervisors, because there may be contracting between and there's supervisory duties of the Board of Supervisors over this board with regard to, for example, our conflict of interest code. Any questions on common law conflicts? All right, moving on. The Brown Act. This will probably be the item you deal with the most as a board member. And remembering that we are required to conduct our business in open meetings. And what is a meeting? It's any congregation of a majority of you, board members, at the same time, in the same place, to hear, discuss, or deliberate on any matter in the subject matter of this authority. So we cannot do serial meetings. We cannot have me sit in the middle and call each one of you and get your votes. We can't use email. We can't use text. We can't use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anything else. No intermediaries. If we're going to be doing the business of First Public, we're doing it at a public meeting like this one, or via Zoom. We want to make sure that all of the decisions of this authority are done in the most transparent and open way possible. Therefore, we post our agendas 72 hours prior to a regular meeting and 24 hours prior to a special meeting. They have to briefly describe the actions to be taken and matters to be considered by the board. Members of the public are entitled to attend, record, and testify at all of our meetings. Okay. Remote attendance. My understanding is this may become particularly of interest to you for future meetings, and so I wanted to give you a moment to discuss it. In the pre-pandemic world, teleconferencing was only, or video conferencing was only permitted if we noticed and posted the address from which you were participating on the agenda, that we had a quorum present inside the jurisdictional boundaries of the agency. All votes are taken by roll call. The meeting is conducted in a way protective of the constitutional rights of the public to appear and participate. And notice is provided under the government code on the agenda. We have to provide members of the public the ability to access the meeting and for public comment. We have to post the agenda at every teleconference location, and they are identified on the agenda. That's the pre-pandemic rules, and I think they're the rules we're probably going to be following for this board for you to attend remotely if you choose to. We do need a quorum of the board to participate from a location within the boundaries of First Public, which is currently the City of Industries jurisdictional boundaries and the City of Lancaster's. In the future, as new members are added, the jurisdiction of First Public will expand, and finding a location within the boundaries is going to become easier. Okay. Post-pandemic rules, there are just cause and emergency circumstance provisions to allow for remote participation, but they do require that a majority of the board be present physically in one location inside the boundaries of the authority. If we have everybody participating remotely under the last slide, I think it is unlikely we're going to be able to allow just cause and emergency participation. But if you find yourself in emergency, give a call. We'll see if we can find a way for you to be able to participate remotely. Otherwise, please do let us know the location from which you'll be participating so we can post, notice, and agendize in accordance with the Brown Act. All right. Public Records Act. It's a very long statute, but in short, it requires disclosure and maintenance of public records. It requires us to retain and disclose to the public records, including documents and emails maintained on your personal email accounts if you use them for First Public business. So, now that you've been sworn, I am hopeful you will soon be provided with an email address associated with First Public. Please use it for all First Public business so that I don't find myself asking for access to your personal accounts in order to secure public records. Finally, social media. Social media accounts that are an extension of your governmental position. So if they list your position with the authority, provide your authority contact information, discuss authority-related issues, invite public comment on authority-related issues, become a limited public forum for constitutional purposes. And that would mean, if you do those things, that you cannot screen your users and you cannot delete content. So if you're going to tout your wonderful involvement here, make a separate account. For example, it would be Tanya Peacock, First Public, or something along those lines, so that when you're posting your personal photos of your children, grandchildren, family, you don't get people talking about First Public business in a way that you'd like to screen but can't because it's been turned into a limited public forum. Okay? All right. That was a very, very quick rundown of duties and responsibilities of public officials. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them now or offline, and I will share the PowerPoint with you.
Is there a committee in Sacramento that meets to make it as difficult as possible?
It's called the state legislature, yes.
It's insane.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any items to be pulled on the consent calendar? Okay, good. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move.
I'll second.
Let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. And now we'll hear from Alexis on new business item 5.
We need to turn it in.
Hi, everyone. Board member Jack Brower is here. We are going to quickly swear him in before I get started.
Have you rise and state your name?
Jack Brower,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
How are you?
that I will support and defend
The Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and
foreign
domestic,
and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of
and the
California,
Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
without any mental reservation
Or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully
and that I will and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know Jack, he knows more about hydrogen than any person alive. He's from the University of Irvine, California.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Yep. But then we have Bob Hertzberg. Bob Hertzberg has been a leader in the state of California and is probably responsible for all those rules we just. And we're going to be asking Bob to join the board today, tomorrow, when are we doing?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Okay, great. Thank you.
Chairman Paris, Vice Chair Ruggles, and the First Public Hydrogen Board. My name is Alexis Marino, and I am very excited to be here. Can we actually get a round of applause for everyone in the room? It is a great honor to be here for this historic moment, the very first board meeting. I don't know about you, maybe I'm just nervous, but the energy in the room is fantastic. So I am very honored to be here. The item before you is the resolution 2025 approving First Public Hydrogen Authority fiscal year budget and approval of execution of the City of Lancaster agreement. Thank you. What this is essentially is for the past 6 months, First Public Hydrogen has been supported by the City of Lancaster. This is a continuation of that support. What it means is that Lancaster will provide finance, HR services, and most importantly, staffing, myself, the team that Jason introduced, and Jason, for the next 6 months. What that means is that First Public Hydrogen will have 6 months to be able to get our operations in order, to be able to operate independently. Included in this is a budget of about $2.5 million. This would be done under a promissory note from the City of Lancaster in which we would repay to Lancaster at the end of those 6 months, and it'll cover the entire fiscal year in which we've been operating to stand up First Public Hydrogen. This item is also before the Lancaster City Council tomorrow night, and I do want to give a big thank you to Lancaster City Council, as well as the City of Industry, Mayor Moss, at this time. One, for forming the JPA, but Lancaster specifically for believing in what is happening with First Public Hydrogen and providing the support and allowing staff to work towards this goal. With that being said, staff recommends the approval of item 5, new business. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any speaker cards? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the budget.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. Moving on to NB6.
Mayor, the next item on your agenda is the execution and authorization of a community workforce agreement with the California State Trades. As you know, there's a number of different reasons we're doing this. One of them is job creation in our communities. As you know, and working for the mayor, and I know the City of Industry supports this as well, that for a thriving community, you need healthcare, retirement, and employment. And one thing that union labor does is accomplish that for our communities. So not only in the spirit of what Arches is and what Arches represents, but what the federal government is and what they represent in funding a lot of our projects, it is key that we have a strong relationship with labor, not only today, but going into the future. The agreement today represents that, and we're excited to be partners with labor. I know some of the representatives are here. Because at the end of the day, this is about creating an economy of ecosystem for hydrogen, but it's also about creating jobs for our residents and our community. So with that, I will recommend approval of the CWA. This is a placeholder. I know there'll be more conversations with the labor as we move forward, but nonetheless, we'd like your approval today. And we do have a speaker card. Okay. And
We do?
yeah. So Joe, if you could come up.
Hi.
Yes, good afternoon, Board President Harris, staff. My name is Joe Sullivan. I'm speaking on behalf of the National Electrical Contractors Association and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 11, and it's an honor to be here at the first meeting. I want to thank you for your commitment to creating high road careers. These careers that you're creating, these create a middle class, and these change lives. And we've seen it in Lancaster with other renewable energy projects. We've seen unemployment fall. These careers, they include apprenticeship training, job placement, mentorship, career paths, long-term careers, wonderful benefits, and retirement. Not only that, you're getting a skilled and trained workforce to do the highest quality work and the highest quality contractors as well. So this step you're taking, it has a positive impact on the community. It raises them up the community economically. And we thank you for this, and we appreciate your strong support.
Thank you. And you both missed the most important thing. The buildings don't fall down when it's built by union labor. They're trained. You know, we're going into an area that people are terrified of because of the word hydrogen. Go figure. But it's essential that we not have any crises in the next 5 years on something that was built. And the one way I know that that's going to not happen, is if we have union labor, because they train their people and they're getting ready to train them on how to deal with hydrogen in a safe, efficient, productive manner. And I think that's essential for what we're doing. Okay. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would like to give a couple of comments about this.
Sure.
It's extremely important that we support a workforce that is also part of our community and that is also investing back, especially now as we see, more struggles on the effects of climate change. These are the real green jobs that we need. So I'm excited to see that our agency is really taking seriously a partnership with labor that can employ more people, and at the same time they can also invest those dollars back into our local economy to help it rebuild. I mean, these are jobs that are going to be all over California, I hope, and I'm really pleased to see this. So thank you so much for for fostering this type of opportunity with labor, and you have definitely my full support.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It passes unanimously. Number 6. No, it was number 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 7.
Thank you, Mayor and board members. The next item on the agenda, as we began this process, there were a couple things that we knew we had to do. One is create an organization, right? If we were going to have other municipal governments join us, right, to be part of what we are doing, we needed to have an organization. That's what you guys are doing today. As part of that commitment and that communication with them, We also needed projects and price as it relates to a hydrogen molecule, right? Those are the two things that if somebody came to me and said, hey, I want you to join this organization, I would say, what's the organization and what's the price? The item before you is an RFI that we started in Lancaster with the intent to transfer to First Public Hydrogen Authority. That RFI went to the marketplace to solicit the procurement and purchase of hydrogen molecules. And that wasn't anything specific, but just identifying general price, location, qualified qualities of the development partner, and a number of different other qualifying factors. We had 20 submit, and we have narrowed it down through the process to 18, or to 9, I'm sorry. And I'll go over those real quick with you. That is not an exclusive list. This is an open RFI. This is the starting point. So those other 11 that we did not select, we were reaching out to them because a lot of them were technology providers. A lot of them were different types of, they were all legitimate companies, but not necessarily in the supply of hydrogen that we needed today. So we'll still be reaching out to those and looking for partners. And also there are more coming in. Since we've last done this, we've also had other projects that say, hey, we want to be part of it too. So it's going to be a rolling RFI as it relates to getting that supply. To narrow down the list, we've got Intersect Power, which is a very large electrolysis project in Fresno, Biotech in the Port of Stockton. We got Clean Water Ventures, which is in multiple locations with Lancaster, Brawley, and McFarland, a couple different sites. Element, which is their largest project, is in Lancaster. Green Grid, which is outside the city of Davis in Yolo County. We have Lindy, which is existing in the marketplace today. They're a project in Ontario. Novo Hydrogen, which is in the San Bernardino, or it's in the East LA County near San Bernardino County line up in the Antelope Valley. Verity, which is a modular system from using ethanol, which is a unique unique process we wanted to have on this list potentially. And RIC Development, and they've got projects in the Imperial Valley as well as Cadiz out in the San Bernardino area. So we have a number of different projects, all within the range of about $4 to $7 from a pricing perspective in different locations. So that's exciting to us. We also want to announce we've got Chevron. We've been working with Chevron in a partnership with Chevron, who's here. They're not on this original list, but we've been working with them closely to figure out how to bridge this gap as well. So when we look at the work we're trying to do, we're trying to bridge this gap between supply and demand. So now our next effort is now we have an organization, which you guys represent. We have a general pricing, and partners in the industry to supply that hydrogen. Our next goal is to deliver and identify partners to join us. We have multiple here today, some transit agencies that are represented here today, to aggregate that demand that they have, and then go to these companies and say, it's time. It's time to supply this energy. It's time to provide these services on a large scale, affordable, reliable, large-scale effort so that we can get this economy rolling. With that, I don't have any other additions. I'm asking you today to approve that supplier list, and then there will be a much more detailed contract with them, but we have them as our supplier list and looking to partner with them in identifying our next steps. Tanya.
So I have a question for Allison. If I have any clients on this list, is that a conflict and do I need to recuse myself?
For purposes of ensuring that we don't have a problem, I would encourage you to identify those and we can move part of the supplier list with your clients on it without your participation, and then the rest of the supplier list without your participation, just to avoid any appearance of impropriety.
Okay, and do you want me to separate the clients that I work with directly or clients of the firm that I work for?
Clients who would have an economic impact on your source of income. So
My individual source of income.
your source of income is your firm. And if those clients have an economic impact, economic impact on your firm, then you should identify them and step out.
Okay.
Okay?
I may have to double check. I wonder if I should just step out for
Then
all
you
of
should,
them.
then
I
go
think
ahead
that
and
would- I
out
don't wanna
of
hold
abundance
things
of
up.
caution, step out on the whole thing. And next time we'll be able to do this in advance.
Okay,
Okay, great.
so I'll just step out.
Did you
One of-
vet the
one of-
list for me? Allison? Did you vet that list for me?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
There's
good. Thank you.
no personal relationship you have or political.
I just wanted to ask if the recent decisions by the IRS affect any of the pricing associated with these bids.
I think they will. We would have to individually, I think it's going to be dependent upon them. I think most of them identified the 45V and the IRA as part of their pricing structure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then as we go forward, there'll be a more formal bid.
Yeah.
The one thing we're doing too in this process, just to clarify for the board and the audience, is it's all completely federally compliant in the bidding procedures. So transit agencies specifically are required to follow
Yes.
federal guidelines in the procurement process. So although these members have been identified as special or unique, we will be going through a formal pricing project where we start vetting all those details out of there, and then get to a point where we can do a contractual relationship based on their bid.
Thank you.
Jason, I had a quick question, just informational purposes. It says project, are these suppliers already available to submit or produce molecules? Or are these projects that are going to be coming to fruition?
Right. Some of them have existing molecules that we would transact with. Some of them are on a shorter timeline that we might be able to transact within the next 3 or 4 months. Some of them would be brand new construction that are waiting on our contracts. So we have multiple technologies, multiple locations, and multiple timelines. What we see next in going through this process is consolidating all of the transit agencies, ports, and the others, identifying when they're going to need that molecule, right? Some of them may not need molecules for 2 years because they have a bus order. Then we can structure that procurement that might fit very well with their construction timelines as well. And that's really the goal, is to get new construction, new projects in the ground.
And then these suppliers, they have different levels of greenness. I know there's a green and a gray and different levels of the greenness of the molecule.
Correct.
So these are different level. Each supplier is different, has different levels, or they're all green, or?
No, they're all different. So they all have not all of them. Some of them are all green, some of them are, gray, some of them are blue. But we included all technologies in this process. When we talk about bridging the gap we're trying to bridge is to long-term, reliable, affordable green hydrogen, right? To get there, we may need to do some other projects in between. So we don't want to exclude what's going to happen in the next 2 years from being part of this process, waiting on the ultimate goal. But the ultimate goal, I think, of your organization, and we've communicating with all of you, is the ultimate is large-scale green hydrogen in the marketplace, which this gets us there.
Right. Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the supplier list.
I'll second.
Let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous. Good meeting, Jason.
Huh. It's historic. I'm excited. All right.
Okay, you have an update?
Yes, I have an update, and then I'll turn it over to the board for comments. No, I'm sorry.
I think bring back Tanya.
Oh, yes.
We forgot about you.
Well, thank you guys very much. We have come a long way, right, with the vision the mayor set 6 months ago, well, it's a couple years ago now. Just to give the audience background, Mayor says we need to be a hydrogen city, and I said, great, Mayor, thank you. What we need to, first of all, we should probably have some hydrogen. And then, so we set out to rezone property in Lancaster specifically. For the background, I used to be the city manager in Lancaster, now the CEO of this entity, to have large-scale hydrogen developed as an economic development tool for the city, but also to stimulate the economy statewide. We did that, right? We accomplished that. The mayor, Councilmember Hughes, many others in Lancaster took that political hits in some cases, and got to that point, and we said, great, let's go buy some hydrogen. And at that point, we found out the true problem in the marketplace is small individual users like we wanted to be, right, had an inability to acquire large-scale affordable green hydrogen. The mayor then said, well, fix that. And I said, okay, we'll try it. This is us fixing it. And it takes a village, literally. I know Jack can attest, I mean, all the board can attest, and many of the audience members. It's going to take risks like you guys are taking to raise your hand and say, we're willing to do this to make an impact. So it's got a lot of ways to get here. There's a whole lot of people to thank, and I want to throw it out there first. Thank the mayor and the leader of his city council for taking this leap. It's not an easy one to do as a city council, to be willing to say, I'm using your funds to support this unique effort. But also the City of Industry, Mayor Moss, Councilmember Ruggles, your team, Josh, wherever Josh is out there. I can remember sitting down with Josh and saying, hey, we got an idea. We need a real partner. You guys are perfect because of your proximity. We know how you operate. You're very entrepreneurial. And he says, yes, let me work with the council. And we got to this point. You start layering on a whole lot of other people in that mix that helped us get here. It's city staff, Trelise, George. Thank you guys. I mean, you guys can stand up, everybody get applause, but there's a number of people in this audience we need to thank that we got here. Brian with EIN, where's Brian at? Raise your hand, just been a wealth of knowledge and wealth of support. Matt over there with Phoenix being the first one to raise his hand and say, we want to partner and do this thing. We got Sebastian with Stantec, who from an engineering perspective has started leaning in hard in this industry. So we've got a whole bunch of people to thank. We've got Sam at the industry. We've got Kyle Miller with Bob Archuletta's office, where he's at somewhere around here. Kyle, thank you. And they've been supporters from the start, and they've been involved in this thing. James with the city attorney for industry. He's been fantastic in this process. Dorn at Foothill, leading again. Dorn, thank you. We got San Bernardino Transit here, represented Joy. Thank you. It's going to be these kind of efforts that want to be the first ones to lean in to make this happen, because somebody needs to be first. And this gives them the tool to be first, and we're excited about that. To let you know what's next. So we have a board. Thank you. We have an entity and a budget and an opportunity to build something from scratch. We have partners in the industry that are going to produce hydrogen for us. We are now actively seeking members to join us. This doesn't exist without members. We've done the work necessary to provide a mechanism, a tool to join, and a process to figure this out. So we're going to be actively seeking. It's your responsibilities, everybody's responsibility in this audience, to identify those supplier or those demands you have and say, come join this effort. That's not just public demand, that's private demand, that's port demand, that's municipal demand, to try to build this industry. And one thing for certain is we've got partners that are beyond us. Right? We've got partners at the state legislature. We've got partners in Arches. I mean, Arches is the original beginning point of what we've started. Jack and I were in those meetings with Rex, and Ara was there, and Tanya was there starting these efforts, and we couldn't have got here without Arches, and we're partnering deeply with them to kind of figure out this next effort. So I can tell you I am personally excited. I'm passionate about this. I can't tell you the opportunities this exists and what we're creating. I think we're going to look back and it's be very historic. So with that, that's my report. I look forward to the socialization, the networking, and the opportunity to say, let's move forward and let's get going. So we're ready. With that, I'll turn it over to the board members for any comments or any questions. Thank you guys very much for the honor of the privilege. I know our staff is excited to get moving forward, and I know you guys are too. Thank you.
You know, before we move on, I want to tell you a little bit about Jason and the staff that I guess he stole the staff from Lancaster. Did that very slick, Jason. But 15 years ago, I went to him and I said, I want Lancaster to be net zero. That was impossible at the time. I mean, impossible. It was just not even something you could consider, remember? And he put together a team, and before you know it, we were. I mean, it was magic. It was really magic at the time. You know, now the science and the technology is there. We all know it. But not then. Not then. It was just a dream. And that's why I have tremendous confidence that this is going to be magnificent. It's going to go fast. It's going to go wide. It is going to repower America. And it's going to be a lot quicker than we think. At least I hope it is, because I quit buying green bananas.
Yeah.
It's an age joke, but. Okay, with that, we have any public comments?
I don't think we do not have any other cards submitted for public comment.
I'd just like to make a comment thanking Jason and Alexis and the team for your vision and putting this together. Of course, thanking the mayor for your vision on clean energy, and now really figuring out how to solve this challenge of renewable hydrogen and how do you connect producers with users, and how do you overcome the transportation and some of the cost premium challenges. And a huge issue, and one of the reasons why I'm so excited about being a part of this and working to make it successful, and I agree with you, it's magnificent, is the transparency. The fact that this is a public agency, it's driven by local government, which can get things done in a way that other levels of government can't. And so it's just, it's so, such visionary leadership, so exciting, so important, particularly at this moment when we're experiencing this extreme impact of climate change, the fires that are still raging. So I just want to say thank you and express my excitement about this as well. It's amazing. It's going to be incredible. So thanks to everyone for being here too.
It's gonna be a great ride.
I also want to give my thanks to Jason and Mayor Paris and all of you who have been involved in this community for so long. We've known, and so are so many other people that have known, agreeing that the very next thing we must invest in after we get the renewable energy and battery energy storage done is hydrogen. And yet, without the infrastructure to start with, okay, it's really difficult. It's much more difficult than it has been for solar and wind and batteries and these things that depend upon the infrastructure that already exists. And California has been leading in this way, but this is an amazing aspect of the infrastructure that is needed, absolutely necessary before we can actually make a difference in the world. We know that it will create less pollution. We know that it'll create less impact on the climate, but we don't know how to actually do the business of it, to actually connect the supply to the demand in a very public, open way that ends up enabling people to make money at it. And that's really how you change the world. You change the world by making the stuff that is clean, the stuff that is available and cheap and accessible. This is a super important aspect of this, and I don't think it exists anywhere else in the world. This is the first place in the world where we're doing this public authority that's going to be able to trade in hydrogen. So I'm also very excited, as I hope you can tell.
This is your life, isn't it?
Just wanted to thank all our partners, getting the City of Industry involved. City of Industry is the logistics, I would say, capital of Southern California. I mean, it comes off the port, comes to, a lot of it comes to our city, then goes out to the rest of the country. And I come from a transportation background, so a lot of the mandates are definitely affecting the trucking industry right now. And I think hopefully this will help the companies that are going to be looking for trucks, especially my industry, the towing. There's nothing available right now for our industry, battery-wise, for trucks. So a lot of the dealers and manufacturers are scrambling right now, and hopefully hydrogen could be the solution to that. So I just want to thank my fellow board members and the public and everybody for coming out. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to extend my gratitude to the team that has put all this, extensive work together. Starting a board like this, and especially being the first one, is so difficult. And for Mayor Paris for having the vision, it is not easy at a time where we are really called to act on climate and act on the very existential threat of climate change and the current climate crisis that we see, in Los Angeles. And I believe that in order for us to mitigate the effects of pollution and all financial constraints that our state has, we need to use all the tools in the toolbox that we have. And this is another tool. This might not be the only tool, but it's one tool. And it's very exciting for me to be part of this process. And as a long life environmentalist that I have been, and a supporter of labor, and wanting to see more partnerships with agencies that can also help us utilize more renewable green hydrogen, I'm excited for what is coming for us. It's going to be a very busy 2025, so everybody welcome. And I'm looking forward to working with all of you, learning more, making this technology better, more accessible, and of course more friendly to to our planet and the environment.
Thank you. Any public comment?
If you would like to come on up, there's an open.
You know, this is the first time I run a meeting that I don't worry about somebody coming up saying terrible things to me. Don't tell them where we're meeting. Okay. We went through the questions. Anybody have any requests for future agenda items? Good. No. And if you do, just send them to Jason. And we're pretty informal about all this. Any requests from the board? We're done. The next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 13, 2025 at 2 p.m. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Meeting is February 20th.
And it's gonna be in person in Lancaster?
More to come.
More to come. Okay, good.
People can go.
Okay, you guys, let's go change the world.
Okay, let's go do it.
Testing, testing. We just want to let everyone know that your nerves outside. If you'd like to make your way outside,
Ain't no river wide enough, baby. If you need me, call me. No matter where you are, no matter how far. Don't worry, baby. Just call my name. I'll be there.